Each time you read the Gospel, something else or other things come up, because we've all heard this before, and we've probably all been, no, not probably, we have all been in this situation before, all right? But there's two things that come out of this. There's a lot of things, but there's two things in particular that after reading this, it kind of stood out to me. The lawyer, nomikos, we're going to translate as lawyer. Sometimes it's translated as scribe. And it says, pirazon tu Isu, meaning that he was testing him, right? So there is some degree of intent behind this. This is not a simple question as we see in other gospel readings. This is specifically now to test him. And a nomikos, or a scribe, would typically be somebody educated in Jewish law. So he gives him the question, what should I do to inherit eternal life? Essentially, this would be like you go to work as an accountant, and then on the first day of the job, on the first day of work, you go to your boss and you say, what should I do as an accountant? Now, more than likely, he's going to laugh at you and say, I hired you, that's my expectation. So this question doesn't make any sense, because as a scribe, as a person educated in Jewish law, he knows the answer to this question. And Jesus' answer is very telling, because he says to him, how do you read the law? So again, going back to the accountant example, I would say as his boss, what did you learn in school? Right? I mean, that's what I'm gonna say to him. I'm not gonna answer his question because it's a stupid question. So this is what we have here. He says now he wants to justify himself further. So he goes on and he says to Jesus, who is my neighbor? And the Torah law is very clear on who the neighbor is. So Jesus again replies with a parable. Oisus ipen anthropos tis katavenon apeti Jerusalem. So, anthropos, is that male or female? Which one is it? Anthropos. Arsenikos is a male, right? Philiki, that's female. Anthropos is humanity. It is neither male nor female. It is what we would translate as human. So, number one, Jesus doesn't identify the person. He just calls him anthropos. All right? And he says now, so that's the one. And then the person that helps him is the Samaritan. Now, we have to understand that the time that Jesus says this, the Samaritans were looked at poorly. They were looked at as heretics. So we would, if we were going to translate this now in modern times, we might say something like, a man was going down who we don't know, all right? Okay? But say, translation, anthropos, we don't know. Somebody, we should have been translated somebody, all right? Was going down. And now, a priest going down the road, so that would translate today as a Christian person who sees somebody beaten on the road, and he says, departed him. Next is the Levite, so this would be one of you. This would be now a person that is Christian, but not necessarily now as clergy or in the priesthood. This is just someone now who knows the law and knows that they should watch over this person. And that person goes to the other side of the road. And then he says, and now a Samaritan is the one who addressed him. This would be like a homeless person on the street that you wouldn't take two glances at, is the one who comes down and offers him now help. So we have to see that Samaritan in the way that we would see it today. And this is somebody that we would typically not pay any attention to. And these are two big things that Jesus is bringing out. Number one, it doesn't matter when he says, who is my neighbor? He says anthropos because it doesn't matter. Christianity is not geographic. Well, I see this guy sitting here, He's not Greek. He's not American. He's not from a country I like. I'm going to worry about that. Our love is not supposed to be geographic or ethnic or racial. It's supposed to be anthropos. It's supposed to be from a human perspective. That's the first thing that we learn from this, is that everybody has to be seen in the image and likeness of their Creator. And that can be tough, especially when there are people that we would rather not see. Criminals, the homeless, bullies. Jesus calls us and says those people are our neighbors. And then the second thing that he does is he says, you will now be disgraced and humiliated by the person who you least expected to do the good, and that should then embarrass you. Because as a Christian, you knew what the right thing to do was, but you said, I don't really see that. I've unfortunately been in situations where people will say, Father, I want to help, but how about I just write a check? Whatever you need, I'll write a check, $500, $1,000, $10,000 to help those that are needy. But then when I ask the question, well, thank you very much, that's a very generous donation, but we are actually going to a homeless shelter and we will go and feed. Not sure about that. You know, Father, I got to be truthful with you. They smell bad. They curse. They say bad things. It's not something I want my kids to be exposed. But here's $10,000. Go do good as the priest. And we have to get past that. And one of the things that I really like about this parish is I've seen that, is that there are now, since I've been here, and that's not to say that this didn't happen before, but I've gotten a chance to personally witness people who say, yeah, it's good to give money, but hey, how can I get personally involved to help that anthropos? Not asking where they are, or who they are, or how poor they are, or how smelly they are. I want to offer my hand. And this is what Jesus is calling us to do here, is not to stand far off, but actually to get involved. And that's the beauty for those that don't have the funds. They don't have the $10,000. They don't even have the $10 to offer. But every single person can offer that which they need. And this is why this whole strategy thing is so important, because these groups that we have, like Philoptikos, and the Drospi Society, and Paraskevi, and the New Enna group, all of Goya, all of those groups are people that are personally involved in their humanity, meaning that they want now to reach out to others besides just writing out a check, but to physically do something. And that's what this is all about.